Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit up to $250. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back, all from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 12 at Pimlico on Black-Eyed Susan Friday is a race with a ton of history behind it. Let's throw up the field for the Pimlico Special. It is a grade 3 now. $250,000 is the purse. And Mike, many of the greats in this game have won the Pimlico Special.
This race does have a very long and strong history, Dan. A lot of good horses have run in it. It feels like it's not, quite the race that horses point to like they used to, but they got a pretty good feel for it this year.
And a very interesting horse that should set the pace, and that's the horse on the far outside, Last Judgment. Timeform US believes that Last Judgment can cross over and make the lead. And if you throw out the Pegasus World Cup, a race in which he was a last-minute entrant wheeling back on a week after winning the Sunshine Classic, this horse has really done little wrong. If he gets to the lead against this kind of field, he's dangerous.
Yeah, he is. If he can clear from the far outside, then certainly this is a race that he can win. His form recently is pretty good. It feels like it might be dressed up just a little bit, Dan, but it's certainly pretty good. And he's a major player in this race. I'll be interested to see what happens with the 10 Always Mining, because he's a fast horse. He hasn't necessarily been showing his speed lately, but if they wanted to make the front, it feels like they could.
Modernist is a multiple graded stakes winner who got back on the beam last time out in the Excelsior at Aqueduct. Let's watch that race. A very slow pace, a very nice ride by Junior Alvarado to get this horse close to the pace, and he's going to just be better than this field. I don't think this was the strongest field in the world. Again, this was the race where Mr. Buff scratched. Modernist took advantage.
He certainly did, Dan. He wound up being the favorite himself once Mr. Buff didn't make the race, and he just got a perfect trip in here. They crawled on the lead. I mean, the horse that runs second there, Haikal, that horse is like the deepest of deep closers. He was within about 2 lengths of the lead up the backstretch because they were just walking in a very tight pack. Modernist did what he had to do there. I do think he's taken a step forward so far as a 4-year-old, Dan. So we'll see if he can improve one more time, because it feels like he has to beat this field.
The number 2, Fearless, your morning line favorite, has returned in very good form for Todd Fletcher as a 5-year-old. Off of a long layoff, he won the Gulfstream Park Mile over a couple of next out triple-digit buyer winners. And then he ran in the Oaklawn handicap last time out. Let's watch that race. Down on the inside, turning into the stretch, is Fearless. He gives it a good try. The winner of this race, Silver State, is a very good and very underrated horse. Fearless has refound his tactical speed, Mike. It disappeared at some point during 2020. He at least can stay close and seems adaptable now.
Yeah, that's true. And it's paid big dividends for him in his first 2 starts. That, as you mentioned, the horse that beats him there, Silver State's on a real roll right now. I think that was 5 in a row for him taking that race, Dan. Listen, Fearless didn't have any excuse in that race. He got a good trip, keeping up close to the pace. The rail was open for him. He just, when you watch any of his races, that's what he does, Dan. He just sort of grinds and grinds. He just couldn't quite get it done last time. The added distance of this race feels like it's no problem for him. He's way the horse to beat.
Distance is for Warren's friend as well. I'm just not sure whether he classes up. He was compromised very badly, I thought, 2 starts back in the Harrison E. Johnson, a merry-go-round race. They ran 1, 2, 3 all the way around the track, and Forewarned was the only horse making up late ground. Because of that, I was excited to use him, turning back to a mile last time out, and he just didn't fire. Maybe the mile was a bit too sharp.
I think a longer distance could be good for this horse as well. It's all about trip and setup for him, Dan. We'll see if he gets one. He's not a bad horse at all. He doesn't win that often anymore, but he's not a bad horse, and he's going to be a huge price in here.
Enforceable, a graded stakes winner, looked like maybe he was going to live up to his promise when he earned a triple-digit buyer at the Fairgrounds 3 starts back. I have to admit, I have not been impressed with his 2 subsequent performances. I know he was only beaten a half length in the New Orleans Classic last time out, but he was all in with 3 furlongs to go, and he just sort of grinded it out in a blanket finish.
Yeah, we feel the same way about him, Dan. I don't think he ran that well at all last time, and I just don't think that New Orleans Classic is a good race overall. I don't really want horses out of it, and I certainly don't want this horse out of it because I just don't know how good this horse is.
Chess Chief, the winner of that race, came back and he could finish third in the Ali Sheba. He did earn a solid 93 buyer. Max Players the 5. He's one of your favorite horses in training. He won the Grade 3 Withers at 1 1/8. Good third in the Belmont. Good third in the Travers. I'm not going to hold the Saudi Cup against him. It turns out that Mishrif's a pretty good horse that beat him. He's still lightly raced. And I like the fact that Steve Asmussen's running him here, Mike.
I do too. I just think it's a really interesting spot for him. And if nothing else, Dan, since the Withers, this is the easiest spot that this horse has been in by far. As you mentioned, he ran really well. I thought the Belmont and the Travers last year, even his Derby, I thought was a little bit underrated. He didn't do any running at all last time in the Saudi Cup. I don't know what chance he really had in there. He was last early and never made a run. That's another spot, though, where the field was way tougher than this one. I'm not giving up hope on this horse yet, Dan. I think this horse still has a chance to be pretty good, and this could be the right spot.
A horse I want to use at a big price, despite the layoff, is the number 6, Prioritize, going out for trainer James Bond and attracting Joel Rosario. This horse ran in the Woodward last year, and he was just 4 wide for the first 5/8 of a mile of that race. He dropped inside, and he just kept plugging along and was a game third. He likes distance. In the Jockey Club Gold Cup, again, a race, not a lot of pace, and those horses are just better. You'll note that Mystic Guide was second.
Yeah, I mean, this horse came a long way in a very short time when they finally switched him over to dirt, Dan. He won his dirt debut over $35,000 claimers. And then a few starts later, he's placing in a Grade 1. I mean, this horse obviously got really good. And it's at least worth pointing out, he started out on turf. He had some real potential on that surface, too. He looked like he was going to be a good turf horse before he didn't pan out. It feels like he's really finding himself on dirt now.
Harper's First Ride won this race last year under a brilliant ride from Angel Cruz, who just put this horse right on the lead, took advantage of the race flow, and Harper's First Ride, who was the leading handicap horse in the Mid-Atlantic region in 2020, did the rest. They ran him in the Pegasus World Cup. That didn't work out. He was purchased before that race. He came out of that race with some foot problems. I wonder if he's a little bit dirtied up coming in. They ran him in the Essex, Mike. He got caught up in a big pace duel with Green Light Go, I think, who's a pretty fast horse, and he ran okay. He at least finished better than that horse. And last time out, they ran him 1.5 miles against a marathon-loving Lone Rock, one of his stablemates, and he wasn't embarrassed.
I mean, I think we kind of agree on this horse as well, Dan. I mean, obviously, when he won this race last year, first of all, it wasn't as strong a field as the one he's going to face this time. So I guess he has that working against him. And he was also in really good form at that time. But he might still be in good form, Dan. His last 2 races are not bad.
Chord Maker, the number 8's, finished third in the last 2 editions of the Pimlico Special. But boy, he's got to be walking in the paddock and say, he's back. Harper's First Ride is back, because Harper's First Ride seemed to have his number in 2020. Let's watch the Harper's First Ride less Harris E. Johnson Memorial last time out. This was the race I talked about earlier. They ran 1, 2, 3 all the way around the track, but I want to give Chord Maker some credit. The horse that he beats, Galerio, came back to win by 7 the other day with a 94 buyer. That horse has won 9 of his last 15 starts.
Yeah, so he beats a horse who's in really good form. It felt like in a lot of ways, Dan, that was just the right spot for Chord Maker, and he finally picked up another win. We'll see if he can carry that form forward here, because obviously he's stepping way up in class against this field.
What a surprise. Michael Maker's done a great job off the claim. The 9 Treasure Trove was taken for $40,000. He just missed in a blanket finish in the Ben Ali last time out over sloppy going, finishing just behind a horse that came back to win at Churchill by 7 with a 97 buyer speed figure. This is a horse that runs well on wet. He runs well on fast. He's a little bit underrated. He has to run probably a lifetime best to win, but I could see him getting a piece.
Yeah, I can see him getting a piece too. I didn't put him anywhere in there, Dan, but overall he's not too bad. And I do think he's going to fall into a pretty good trip here. I like his tactical speed. I just didn't know if he was good enough to beat all these horses.
10-time winner, Always Mining, kind of lost his way a little bit towards the end of 2020. It took him a race to get back on the beam, but he did score 3 starts back. Let's go back to his last start at Parks. Now, consider that this race is over a wet track, and his 3 losses this form cycle have all come on wet tracks. Always Mining has a shot, but he's down towards the inside at Parks here. Maybe that wasn't the place to be. I think he tries real hard to finish second, and we know he has races good enough to win if he gets the right trip.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see if he's still the horse that it once looked like he could be. It feels like maybe he's not. But he ran fine last time. He was only second best in there, but he ran fine. The race 2 back when they shipped him up to Aqueduct to race on the sloppy track. You know, he obviously bombed that day, Dan, and it was another wet track, but that was a wicked pace. I mean, Mr. Buff just went really fast, ran this horse out of the race, and he was basically eased in there. I wouldn't be too hard on him for that effort.
Last Judgment completes the field. He's the likely pace setter. He was beaten by the much improved Eye of a Jedi last time out. Other than Eye of a Jedi, I didn't think much of that field overall, however. And while this horse is 1 at a mile and an eighth on the lead, I have severe question marks about him going a mile and 3/16 against good competition.
Yeah, listen. I agree with you, especially if he can't get loose on the lead, Dan. And I didn't feel like they were just going to turn him loose from the outside post in here. Maybe he's just better than we're giving him credit for, and he'll make the front here and forget to stop. But I feel like this is a real tough spot for this horse.
Top pick time for the Pimlico Special. We know where Mike's going. He's sticking with Max Player. Till death do they part. Max Player on top. He's going to be a good price. And I love that Asmussen runs him here. He could have found a 2x off the layoff to get this horse's confidence back. He's showing a lot of faith by running him in this spot, and I'm expecting him to run late.
Yeah, me too. I mean, hopefully he'll be able to get a trip in here and show up with one of his good performances, Dan. If nothing else, this is huge class relief. And I'm not trying to knock Fearless, who's obviously been back in very good form. Fearless just isn't, the kind of horse that I'm looking to take at something like even money or whatever he's going to be in this race. Obviously he can win. He's the horse to beat. I'll use him. I'm trying to beat him with Max Player.
I do hate to chalk out with Fearless, but I agree with you that he's the one to beat. And with his newfound tactical speed, he'll work out a trip. I want to try to get Harper's First Ride in there somewhere, getting back to this circuit. I think he's racing himself back into shape. 5-2-1-7 for Mike, 2-7-8-6 for me in the Grade 3 Pimlico Special. Good luck.